Eric B's Daily Vlogs.
All right, another live interview today. Podcast, live stream interview, and I got a funny man from the 808, Mr. James Mane, coming on. So what we're going to do is we're going to get him on the other side of the break. So first, let's get this started.
You're listening to the Daily Podcast, the Eric B.
Welcome, everyone. It's the Daily Podcast, and I guess you can call it a vlog. I'm Eric B. I want to thank everyone who's jumping on Instagram right now. I did tag James on Facebook, so let's hope we can get a bunch of James's people on here. And didn't really know how to do it on Instagram, so I'm hoping they can see that I'm going on live right now. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Mr. James Mane in from the waiting room. Has been waiting nice and long over there. There he is,
Hey,
Mr.
can you hear me?
James. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. How are you?
Cool, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for jumping on. Let's go ahead and give James a round of applause. All right. Mr. James Mane from Hawaii, comedian, big guy. How tall are you?
I'm 6'7", I'm also 415 pounds.
Wow. So you're going to get the first question I'm going to get. This question is for me. And I had a couple of my coworkers just run down some questions because they said they're going to watch. We're going to try to watch. But why comedy and not football?
Oh, I got the career-ending injury. I don't know if you can see, but I have a scar going across here.
Oh, man. Okay.
So I have a plate in my arm on my left ulna. I broke my arm twice in a football game.
Okay.
It was pretty much, there was some complications from surgery. My body was trying to push out the plate.
Yeah.
Because it's a foreign object. And then I had like about 5 surgeries in just a matter of like 4 months. And I was kind of like, you know what?
That's it.
It's obviously not working out.
Yeah. Was this college or was this high school?
This was in college. It was, I played for University of Buffalo. The injury happened against Towson State in Maryland. I remember it because that was the moment the doctor said, "You'll probably never play football again."
Wow.
And then broke my heart. I was like, I went into depression seriously, I went into depression for a couple of years. I didn't even watch football for a while. It was heartbreaking.
Usually we always hear career-ending injuries, and this is, a good topic to talk about. But you usually hear career-ending injuries is usually something either with the brain or something with the lower extremities. This is the first time I'm hearing something with the arm, so it must have been that extreme, right? If I'm pretty sure you didn't play quarterback, so you didn't really need the arm to throw, but you needed it to tackle. And I'm just assuming you played either the O-line or the D-line, right?
You assume correctly. Yes, I was left tackle.
Okay.
So what happened with the doctor, and this was in 1993, 94.
Okay.
So the doctor was like, "You're going to play with a club, on your hand." And for a left tackle, the left hand is important because you don't want the edge rusher to get around you.
Yeah.
And that plus going through all the surgeries is kind of like, is this even worth it?
Oh yeah. Totally agree. Well, I'm glad you decided to do something different, and here you are right now. And I'm reading your bio, and it says larger than life, right? Stand-up comedian, and let's go ahead and go back to how you got started. You said you went in a state of depression because of football. It was comedy your way out. The laughter, was that something that helped you come out of your depression?
Well, actually, I went into becoming a DJ first.
Okay.
When I came back from New York, you come back, you got to find a job. So Hawaii is bread and butter is tourism. So I got into driving for a tour company, and talking and trying to entertain is part of it. So entertaining the tourists as they're riding in the bus, and then DJing, performing in front of people, and loving the energy that you get when you drop a song. Of course, it's not your own song,
Yeah.
but a hit, and then the energy. At that time, this was in like 90, 98, 99. You drop anything from Snoop Dogg, and all of a sudden the party, or even this was, I think, in the 2000s when the Dirty South was blowing up, and just feeling that energy that comes back. And I think this all leads up, and I always talk about it. People ask me, and I would say it started from DJing. It led up to wanting that interaction with the crowd. So I became. You're in the Bay Area, right?
I'm in San Francisco. Yeah.
So DJ Cool E, who used to work for KML.
Okay. Yeah. Remember?
Long time ago.
Yeah.
And so he's here, and he's a good friend of mine, and I became his hype man. So I was that guy with the mic while he DJ'd.
Nice.
And then I started to notice, like, this is a lot easier because DJs are head down into the record. That back then it was still vinyl.
Yeah.
And I was up there partying with the cordless mic in the crowd and dancing, and I was in my 20s, so meeting girls and whatnot, and so I was like, this is where it's at. Then being able to be comfortable with talking on a mic in front of a large crowd, and then from there, other things happened in my life, and I switched over to giving stand-up comedy a try.
Okay.
And feeling that. So when I create something, a thought, and then I say it on stage and get the immediate reaction, and that's similar to dropping that record, and people hear it and they're like, yeah. So when I say a joke, and it's weird because it's something that I thought of while doing something stupid, whether it's I'm eating a bowl of cereal and I thought of something crazy, or I'm walking the dogs and I thought of something crazy, and then I come back and I write it down, and then I write it into joke form for stage. And then when I say it, and knowing the setup and the punch, once I hit the punch and I get that boom, that laughter, it's I love it.
That's it, right? It's one of those. It's one
hooked.
of those good feelings when you can tell a story, and these people are living off your story and they're enjoying it. How was the transition when you first started? Like, what made you get into, like, did someone say, hey, we're doing a amateur night, where, and go ahead and join? Like, what was that first step where you said, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to give it a shot?
It was actually, so my sister, who's a writer and actor, she was doing this is back still in the 90s. Actually, no, I'm sorry, the early 2000s. And she was trying to figure out, try to do a webisode. And she got all these improvisers together, and they would improv scenes, I guess, that she had, like, topics or subjects that she was thinking about writing. And I was watching these people and kind of like, whose line is it anyways?
Yeah.
And just cracking up at all these talented improvisers. And then one of them was telling me, oh, you should take some classes. And one of the classes was a sketch comedy writing class. And I was born the same year as SNL and had been a fan of SNL forever. And I love sketches. So I started there, and then somebody in the sketch comedy writing class told me about a stand-up comedy class.
Okay.
And I was like, let me go try it. And so in that class, it was the person would teach you how to write jokes, come up with a 5-minute set, and then perform at their show, which was part of an improv group. So they would do their show, and then after they would have like a semi-open mic because it was by invitation, but it was myself and another comic, our very first time doing stand-up, and I did my 5 minutes there, and the adrenaline rush you get, like, because I was scared. I was like,
of course. Of course, yeah.
While I'm there, I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm not doing it. Forget this. Forget it. I'm out of here. And then I was like on my way down the stairs, and then I heard the guy introduce my name, and he introduced it wrong. He said, James Maine. And I was like, man, I got to go over there and correct him. And then, so I went back, and then I did 5 minutes. It did well for, and I enjoyed it. And like the adrenaline rush driving home lasted all the way till I went to work the next day. And I was a city bus driver by this time.
Okay.
And as I'm driving, I'm out of service, so nobody on the bus. But then they hit me again, and I was just screaming like, "Yeah, I did it!" and then been hooked ever since. It's like I can see why some comics use drugs. That not saying it's a good thing, but like to keep that energy, to keep the party going. Of course, I don't use drugs, and I wouldn't want people to use drugs, but I get it. That feeling is it's just intense when you kill, and especially when. So like now, if I go up and I kill, I almost like, oh, okay, cool, all right, good job, man, right on. But when I'm really nervous, like I have to do well. So I get so nervous. Like if it's like for a big show or an audition or something, and then I get so nervous that when you kill, that adrenaline rush from killing at those shows, that's the adrenaline rush. Not so much like if I perform tomorrow night at a venue, and I've done it for about 13 years. I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll be all right.
You're good. Yeah. So it's 13 years. You've been doing stand up for 13 years.
Yeah.
Nice. And that was my next question, but you just answered it. So you don't get as nervous as you do when you first started. Now to you, it's just like a regular job. You're going there, you know what you got to do, and you know what you got to make people laugh.
Yeah, but there is challenges that so like again, like when I say if I'm trying to impress a booker at a club, or trying to impress, whatever, some kind of audition, then the pressure is on. They get nervous. For me now, other than that, trying new material, I'm like, oh man, I hope this works. And then you get it, because you still not bomb, but you still get times where you tell a joke and then it just dies. It's like nothing. You're looking like, oh, I gotta adjust. But that's part of doing stand-up. You have to get out there and try the new jokes. Try the new stories, or else you'll never know. You'll just do the same thing over and over and over.
Question I have for you also is, you being Samoan, right? How do you implement your Samoan nationality into your comedy? And if you do, who gets it? Like, if you're there in a comedy show and you have a bunch of tourists there, will they understand your, Samoan heritage and you talking about your Samoan lifestyle? Or is it more the Samoans, the Polynesians, the Hawaiians that are there that understands what you're telling them?
So if I'm doing a show and there's a lot of Polynesians or people with ties to the Pacific, a lot of them will get those little inside jokes, and so I don't have to explain too much. They get the stereotypes. They understand. But when I at a show and I see that it's not a lot of people that have Hawaii ties, it's mostly tourists, it still works, because a lot of my stories, I evolved from doing set up punch jokes to storytelling. So a lot of the stories has to deal with size, which people can see and they get. So like one of the jokes that always hits is usually when I get on a plane, everybody looks up and is like, and they think, please don't sit next to me. So that's universal. And then I talk about family relationships with my parents, or siblings, or my daughter, because I'm also a dad. So relationships with people, friends or whatever. Everybody has some relationship with someone somewhere. So that's where you relate to them. So a lot of it, I'm telling a story, is mostly self-deprecating stuff where I'm silly or I'm doing something stupid or I have this silly thought. But then sometimes that silly thought, a lot of people have had that thought. They just never thought to, say it out loud.
Yeah.
So, so that's being relatable is very important. I always tell new comics, being likable will go a long way, because if they like you, whether it's something they relate to, or maybe you think you're good looking or you have that charisma, that that goes a long way.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of comics that you watch now. Is sometimes I'm like, I don't see, like when you watch on TV or whatever, however you stream the comedy, you don't get that connection unless you're live.
Yeah.
Because live, you can feel the energy, and then you go, "Oh, okay, I get it. I see why this person's doing well." But when you watch it, on TV, you don't. There's a missing element.
Yeah. I mean, it's something different. This is definitely something different when you're watching, like right there in front, or either just there. You're just there listening to the comics. It's something different. Like I totally understand. Like when you're watching it on TV, you get distracted. How many times are we watching TV and we're looking at our phones? Where we just came from a comic club here in San Francisco, and the first thing they told us was like, you can't have your phones out. So, in a way, I understood why. The reason why is like you couldn't really record, but at the same time, they want you to engage in the comic, listen to the stories that they're saying, so that way you're focused and you're not busy trying to post this person on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that, which I totally get. It's like every now and then we have to disconnect with our devices just so we can, be back in life. But it's hard to disconnect with our devices when we use our device to do things like what we're doing right now. But so it's kind of like a hit or miss kind of thing. Yeah. How often are you traveling outside of the islands to do a tour? Like, are you ever in the mainland doing your stuff?
So I've never toured. I have come up. So when my daughter was younger, she would travel for sports. She played soccer and volleyball. So when I would travel with the team, and then I would go do some comedy. I performed in Vegas, Idaho, LA. Usually places that they played at.
Yeah.
Recently, I was a comic who's really big here, and started to do. He went and did his tour earlier in the year, national tour. He did all the cities or states that has strong Hawaii ties, whether they're Polynesian or they have they used to live in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So he did a tour, and he brought me up to Arizona to perform.
Nice.
For myself, it's because at the end of the day, it's a business.
Yeah.
No matter how funny I am, I have to be able to sell tickets.
Yeah.
So building up the social media following, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook and Twitter, so that when I come up to your city or your town or your state, and I put out, hey, I'm performing here, and then tickets, do well.
Yeah.
That's the route. That's the next level for me. I've always been, because I was a girl dad or single dad, and she's just now in college. So now I have more of an opportunity to travel and perform.
Nice.
Whereas when it was just me and her, of course I had my family help me out, help me raise her. It's difficult to leave when she has so many things going on, whether it's school or athletics. Yeah. So it wasn't her holding me back or the time on it. It's just myself. I would rather be here with her to share these moments.
Yeah.
When she goes to college, which she is now, so she's up in Wyoming now. So now I have the freedom to travel, but I got to work on my popularity.
Yeah. Well,
so I appreciate being on podcasts like this, and thank you for having me.
This is the reason why I wanted you out. When I saw you, and Brother Rex is the one that introduced me to you. And, when I said, hey, can I get a couple people? And he said, call this guy. And I saw you. I'm good friends with Lanai Tabora also out there.
Oh yeah.
And I saw you on his Hawaiian Thing podcast. So I said, okay, let's get James Money on here. And it's just these things that, my podcast is not a big podcast, but it's big enough to where I can share your story. And, you can, today you probably had, 1,000 followers, but now with you on my podcast and people following me on Facebook, you probably got, 1,500, it's just, that's what it is. And we have to, like you're helping me out by being on my show, and I'm helping you out by getting your name out there as well. For the people who's never met you or have never heard your stuff, I tell my listeners right now, go watch his stuff. His stuff is funny. It's very relatable. I kind of wish when I'm out there or whenever you're out here on the mainland, I'll definitely come watch you. And just the size alone, it's like there's this one where you just got on stage and, the host was just like, whoa, you're a big guy, and 6'7", man, that's big. And I'm glad you didn't give up. I'm glad you said, you know what, let's go ahead and do something different, because, sometimes when people get in that, the big depression stage, it's kind of hard to get out of that. And you got to find something to get you out of it. You got your daughter to most likely help you get out of that as well, which is a good thing. How difficult is it for you when you're coming on show, you mentioned Wyoming, you mentioned Idaho. How difficult is it for you to be yourself there and just to say, okay, these are just people who I just need to make laugh, but they're not, I don't know if there's a lot of Polynesians in Idaho. So, how?
It's funny because the place I performed at was a Hawaiian restaurant. So
nice.
In Boise, just outside of Boise, but it's in Idaho. Idaho surprisingly has a lot of Polynesians and Hawaii ties, because cost of living there is so cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of people in California are moving to Idaho, and the funny thing is, Idahoans are upset about this. Like, as I'm there, they're actually telling. They have signs that says Californians keep driving through, because so many are moving now that we're working remotely. A lot of people, even more so, can leave their home city or state and go someplace that cost of living is cheaper. And I mean, shoot, I'm afraid of going to San Francisco with all the social media videos I see with crime and stuff. Jesus. But there are a lot of people in San Francisco, and I'm a Niners fan, so I would love to go to San Francisco and perform.
Let me know when you're out here. We'll definitely go watch a game.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so people are telling me, it's like, hey, you should come to perform it. We have a lot of Islanders here. Yeah. So, and it's the same thing. So, like, I'm assuming you're a Filipino. Is that?
Yeah, I am Filipino. Yeah. You assumed correct.
So, because I was raised with, in the neighborhood I was raised in, there was only another Samoan family. It's mostly apartment buildings. Yeah. But most of my friends were Filipino, Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese. I grew up with Asians, so I have friends now that I'm an adult say, "Wow, you know more about my Japanese culture than I do." Yeah. And that's so when I'm around Asian people, I don't feel uncomfortable, because so that's why my jokes can be relatable to so many different types of people. And us Polynesians, we understand, like a Joe Coy or Rex Navarrete. We get it because we're very similar. Hawaii's that melting pot. I get the stereotypes, and so I get a lot of TikTokers that I follow are Filipino, and because I get all the jokes about the food, about how when you guys have a get together, you don't cook one, maybe like when some families, American families, like, okay, we have steak and potato. Yeah. No, Filipinos will cook everything they know how to cook. It's everybody's taking food home.
Yeah. The rule is you take food home once everyone gets a plate first, guys. Filipinos.
Yes.
Don't take it home when the rest of the party is not here yet. It's funny you mentioned that because I lived in Hawaii for a couple of years, right? I lived when I first moved out there. I lived over in the Mo'ili'ili area, and then ended up over at Eva. And then when I was at Eva, I met these Filipinos, and they were the coolest Filipinos in the world that I met. Because it's like, I'm walking by, and then I see an uncle is like, "Hey, you just moved down the street, right?" I go, "Yeah." "Oh, come over. We're gonna go have lunch." And I'm like, okay. So, then I asked, why? He goes, "You're Filipino. We're family." And I'm like, to me, I'm from San Francisco. You mentioned about the crime here. So I'm like, at the same time, I'm like getting plate, but I'm looking over my shoulder to see who's getting ready to like stab me or something, right? Because we're careful like that out here. But after that first day of hanging out with them and just seeing, not only do I see Filipinos, I see a couple of, guys from the naval station coming over and just, because that's where the house was. That's the house that you go to for lunch. And, and this was Monday through Friday. That's just how it was. And I was like, wow, I feel this different type of love here on the islands. This is what made me fall in love living out there, just because you had not just the Filipinos, but you had, the different nationalities out there who just knew how to embrace new people out there. And I enjoyed it. So it was definitely cool
because the
thing.
Aloha Spirit is actually from the plantation workers, which is, that immigrated to Hawaii during, the sugarcane and pineapple boom. I guess that was here in Hawaii, where the Filipino, Japanese, Puerto Rican, Chinese, and all these cultures that came together, and Portuguese, and helped that business. Samoans didn't come over till later, so that's why we were always still like when you say local, they're talking about, you ask a local person here in Hawaii, "Hey, what's your ethnicities?" and they'll list those down. "Oh, I'm Filipino, Japanese, Chinese, Puerto," because all the years that they've been together, and even the pidgin slang that we have here is the broken English from all those cultures trying to communicate in English, but you're not getting the words right. And then when Samoans came over, like now we're kind of mixing in because in the 70s and we were still ourselves. There was locals, and then there was the Samoans. Now that we're mixed in, we're locals as well. So the latest group to immigrate to Hawaii is Micronesians. So they're, the outside of the local, group, but are starting to mix in as well. So after all that mixing, it's like that. Where, "Hey, come over, don't worry. We're all locals. We're all related. We're all, don't worry, and come." Or even if your kids, you see your kids, and that's the one thing about Hawaii is that. When we see other kids, we try to, take care of it. Oh, if you work late, don't worry. Tell your kid come over, babysit. We'll watch them till you come home. Or we're always family first.
Yeah. That's what I love. And it's funny you mentioned the pidgin is in that same household. The person, Mr. Mandapat, I just remember the last name, Mr. Mandapat, had the strongest Filipino accent, right? You're like, "Yeah, come eat, we have lots of food for everybody." But at the same time, he's trying to speak pidgin to me. So I was kind of confused. He's like, "We're going to have, bro, we're going to have this later on, bro."
Sorry, my earbuds died.
It's okay.
Let me plug in my headphones. I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about Hawaii, and everyone that lives in Hawaii is just everyone's friendly. Everyone's all about family out there, which is cool.
The Daily Podcast.
Again, I want to thank everyone who's watching right now. Everyone who's on Facebook, people who's watching on Instagram. First time I'm doing an Instagram live. And I know I have some people on Twitter as well. They got that. Someone joined us on YouTube. Drop a comment. Let me know that you guys are watching. Let me know that you guys are here. Say hi to James. Ask him questions. We do have a couple questions that I'm going to throw to James right now when we're ready back on. But if you guys want to follow James, you can follow. This is his he has a podcast, James Mane Podcast. You can follow that podcast as well. He's also on Instagram and Facebook. You can follow him on Instagram, the comedian James Mane on there, and Facebook is just James Mane. He also has a website that you can follow, the comedianjamesmane.com. go ahead and follow him there. A lot of cool stuff. Got a couple questions for you. This is my coworker right here. She said she's definitely going to watch you on YouTube. So that's a cool thing. Patrice, thanks for sharing. But then this is her question to you is, do you have an advice to combat stage fright?
So the advice that I got from that class that I was in, and some books that I've read is very similar. So it comes down to experiencing the anxieties. Don't try to go up and be funny. Just actually a comic that was from here, Kenny, the blind man is his name, and I told him, hey, I'm going to try open mic one day. You have any advice? And he said, don't try to be funny. Just go up and understand that what you're going through and experience all these anxieties.
Yeah.
And understand that it'll get easier. And then just go up and even if you say jokes that don't work, don't worry about it. Just experience that nervousness. The more you do it, the easier it'll get. From this book that I read, it was like, it was the teacher. So I don't know if you watch the cartoon Transformers.
Yes.
You know, that the cube that they bring out of their chest.
Yeah.
So I actually used to do this. I would, all my anxieties and fears and doubt, I take it out of my chest, and then I put it under a chair or on the floor in the green room or the back room or wherever you're staged before you go up on stage. And then you leave it there and they say, okay, I'll come back and get you later.
Okay.
Right now, I'm right now, I don't need you. And then I'll go up. It's kind of hokey, but that's how I started out doing it at first. I would just say, all right, all my nervousness, I'm going to leave you here, and then I'm going to go up on stage. And I still get nervous, so that never goes away.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that's how I deal with stage fright.
It's funny because, I do this. I do this. I've been doing this for a while, just, getting people on the show, and people don't realize how hard it is to just get on here, go do something live and try to be as normal as possible. But, whenever I get people like you on, you're James Money, I'm going to be nervous talking to you because and this is the reason why I told you, let's talk right before. So that way I can kind of get a feeling of who you are, what you're, what you're like. And, sometimes as a stand-up comic, you don't get that chance, right? You're going to go in there and you're either going to do it or you're going to bomb. And I know a lot of comics don't like hearing the word bomb, but there's times where you just bomb. There's times, we're all human. There's times where you go there, you want to kill it, but just that crowd is just not laughing or just not getting your stories, right? So because
comedy is subjective. So if I go up in this a room that wants political comedy, I don't do political comedy. It's so as a comic, it's my job to try to get this crowd to laugh. Yeah. But understand that it won't happen all the time. I still I did a high school graduation, and that was a struggle. It was a struggle, but you just have to work through it.
Yeah, I mean, you're high school kids. It's like, when you tell your jokes, do you try to tell your jokes to where everybody can understand? Like, if you did a high school graduation, but you're telling adult jokes, was that the difficulties for that?
Well, first, you edit yourself, so obviously you're not going to do any. I'm not going to swear. Second is nobody relates to being a parent in there other than the parents that were in there. Yeah. So a lot of the jokes change. The set is different. So obviously, what's in front of them is a large person. So I talk about being a large person, and it kind of like I'm telling them a story about my average day or the things that I go through being a large person. The thing that helps is it was here in Hawaii, so the ethnic jokes, get across. So talk about being Samoan and playing football, which the school that that I performed with, they're known for their football team.
Okay.
And they're athletic. So you find a way to say, okay, what do I know about these people? What do I know about this school? What do I know about, and you adjust your set to them. So I didn't tell them about, see, some of the edgier or adult jokes that I have. I didn't tell them about my cousin who was locked up in prison and everybody just asked him if he dropped the soap, So we didn't do that. We moved on. We'll do other things. And so that's pretty much it. It's like preparing for work or class or a game. You got to do your homework. And
do you still drive the bus?
No, I actually stopped in 2015.
Okay.
And back to school and got an associate's degree in cybersecurity.
Nice.
But I'm not using it at all. So.
Yeah. Oh, who is? I mean, like, if you're not a doctor, like, you have something. What are you using it for? Who is? I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, okay, what am I going to use this for? Exactly.
Right.
But no, that's cool. I love your storyline. I love where you're coming from. You're a single dad. You're raising your daughter. At the same time, you're doing what you can to make people laugh. I mean, this to me sounds like. This could be a movie that, someone should be writing about you right now. Like, here you are, big guy, your whole focus is I'm going to play football. And when that didn't work out, it's kind of like, all right, what am I going to do now? Yep. Was your daughter born while you were playing football?
No, she's never seen me play football or any sports. So that's kind of, the bummer for me, wish, she saw daddy, because even when I played, there was no YouTube, so there's no video, there's no proof. As far as she knows, I could be lying about playing football.
Like, Dad, that's The Rock. That's The Rock. That's not you. That's The Rock. But that's a cool thing, It's a cool thing. It's like, you got the eye. We're related. We're related. Okay?
Yeah. We are the same. But so it's I wish there was a way that she could see. There's like some footage that I found when there's old pictures, but it's not a lot for her to go, wow. Because every parent wants that. My dad is great, or every dad I say, my dad is awesome. My dad can beat up your dad. I didn't get that moment because, and the funny thing is, since she was 5, I've got into stand-up comedy, so. A lot of her friends' parents, at the park when we were playing soccer, they're like, it must be interesting having a parent that does comedy. And then she always says the same, like, no, I don't know when he's joking, so it's difficult. I think he's always joking. So even when I scolded her when she was younger, I would have to exaggerate how angry I am so that she would get it, that, no, I am really angry. Some of the things I would say, she'll look at me like waiting for the punchline, and I would have to go, no, I'm very angry.
I guess that's one of the difficulties of being a comedian and a single father at the same time. It's like you don't have that other person to say, hey, when you scold her, you have to do everything, and she's waiting for the punchline. It's like, all right, Dad, I'm ready. Where's that bump? Where is that? No, but that's good though. Again,
the cool thing is she's very funny. So I talk with other comics. It's like either I'm raising, because she's on a volleyball scholarship, and so I'm like, either I'm raising a really good athlete or a really good comedian. Something's coming out of that person because she is very funny.
Yeah. Patrice again with a comment, just saying thank you for the advice. It makes sense to put it away and pick up later. No, I mean. It does. I mean, it's like there's everything we do that, again, I don't do this. They're going to go to work tomorrow and I'm going to tell them how nervous I was when I first got on. And they're like, no, you didn't look nervous. I mean, because my box is right below me. It's right here. And at the end of the show, when I end the live, the first thing I do is like, oh, God, But I'm trying to entertain, or we try to entertain. We don't want to be here and like the first thing's like, oh James, so when you were first doing, because one, I don't want you to think that I'm nervous. I don't want you thinking that. I don't want everyone else who's watching me thinking I'm nervous. And it goes with comedy as well. You don't want to go up there and like, oh man, wait, oh God, I forgot I had the joke and I don't, you don't want to do that. You want to go there, be as professional as possible. How many times have you ever been on stage and you just forgot what your story or whatever joke you're trying to say, that you just had to, ad lib, or you just had to just go with something and hope that worked?
It happens a lot. And this is why when comics do specials, they don't film one show. They film like 2 or 3, because, it might be funnier with this audience, or they might have forgotten a word or two. And being a writer, that word could be huge. Like the last time I actually, not the last time, but I headlined in February, and there's a chunk where if you know my material, you're like, whoa, he's saying that different. It's different because I forgot something.
Yeah.
And it just happens. Just like when you're at work and then you have a brain fart and you're just like, oh, what? And you're like, so it's kind of like an not necessarily an outer body experience, more like an inner body experience. Like, so I'm inside of myself going, while I'm performing for the people, what they see is this person who's telling these jokes, and inside I'm like, oh no, I forgot that punchline. But that's a very important punchline because I call it back later on in the show. I need to work that punchline in somewhere else, and that all that is going on in your head. And so there's times where I'm like inside, but you won't see it. It's like whether like the bird, the duck swimming under the water. So you don't see the panic that I'm going through, but it's there, and it happens a lot. And then you just, okay, let me do another material. And there's times where I'm at a clean show and I start doing this joke, and then I was like, oh shucks, what comes next? And I'll just end it and I'll do something else and I'll jump onto the next one, not remembering that the punchline is kind of dirty. So I'm going like, oh no. So it's kind of like you're driving and you forgot that this is a dead end and you're going down anyways, like, oh no, I need to adjust. I need to. So there's a lot of times, and it's something I learned from my mentor, Andy Bumatai, who's
Andy Bumatai,
amazing comedian. I call him the professor because he can break a lot of things down. As far as your set, the way you dress, the way you hold the mic, the way where you look, like he's a true professional. So he's it happened again. I'm just like, wait, what was I talking about?
Andy Bumatai.
Yeah, so he's helped me a lot with the material and how to remember and not fall off.
Yeah.
Some guys who do size, they'll start from here. They'll work their way down. The way I tell a joke is I figure out which one leads to the next. Okay. Shoot. I'm trying to remember what Andy. So the advice he gave me was it's okay because it's not so much what we say, it's what we think. So like when you get like a radio personality or a DJ or whatever that tries stand-up comedy, they're trained to not stop talking. They cannot be dead air. So he tells me watch specials, watch comedy specials. There's a lot of times the comic stops talking. And then the reason they stop talking because everything is up here. Yeah. This is where it all is. So you stop talking and you sort it out. So he says, it's okay when you forget to just stop, take a breath. Some guys, you see them drink water, they'll take their drink and then sort it out and then continue. So, and it got to a point where I would challenge myself to see how long I can go without talking. I would get up on stage and I would say a joke and then just pause and not say anything for a while. It's funny because you can feel the tension build in the room.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the next joke hits, and it's even harder. And it's like it's a trip doing this.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's good. I mean, that's why you guys are professionals. You comedians are professionals. You guys, you put me up there. I literally will probably last 2 minutes just because there's so many. Yeah, I mean, being Filipino, I would probably do the Joe Coy route, Rex Navarrete route, where I just do a Filipino accent and hope everybody laughs because that's all I know how to do. I'm not a professional when it comes to this. You being the comic that you are, you write your own jokes. How difficult is it for you to write something, to say something that no one's already said? Because you hear about comics stealing other comics' material. How difficult is that for you to okay, I'm going to say this, it's going to be funny, but did I hear this or did someone else already say this before me?
So that's where you have to do everything from your own perspective, my own point of view, and then if there's sides. Do I jump on the side of the person who's punching down or jump on the side of the person who's being punched?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways to look at it. For me, my city bus driver set or chunk is I have a unique perspective in that I'm the driver.
Yeah.
A lot of people can do jokes about riding the bus, but not being the bus driver. So that's where, that those jokes will be unique for me, and I will express how drivers feel. Like how one of the secrets I let out is yes, when it's raining, we do look for puddles and we try to splash everybody. Yes, we do run red lights.
Yeah,
and when you're running for the bus, yeah, we do wait till you get to the door and then we take off. So it's very unique to the driver because everybody has the perspective of the person running to the bus.
Yeah.
So when there's something like being a large person getting on a plane, people all get that, oh, please don't sit next to me. Everybody gets that because everybody feels that way.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I add to it my perspective, which is I gotta ask I hate the flight attendant because I gotta ask for a seatbelt extension.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know what that is,
yeah.
But I need more seatbelts. So they give me, when they do their presentation, the exit doors, and then if buckle your seatbelt like this, that thing, they give it to me so that I can add to my seatbelt.
Wow, yeah.
So a lot of people don't get that. And then I talk about the interaction between me and this lady who's giving me a hard time, the flight attendant, about the seatbelt extension. Like she's making fun of me, and I'm like, why are you yelling it out? Everybody knows I need it. Just give me. You're embarrassing me. So it's almost like because I grew up watching sitcoms, so it's almost like a scene. Like I say with the Seinfeld, going over the seatbelt, and I hate this person because they just don't give it to me. They know, but she's making me, make a fool of myself. And then like one of the punchlines I have is, I don't ask for a seatbelt extension anymore. I ask for the championship belt. So I'm like, yeah, I'm the champ. And then the same lady comes up to me and says, oh, you mean the heavyweight championship belt? I'm like, I hate you.
Why you gotta do that for? I'm sure you can buy one, right? I'm sure you can buy your own seatbelt extension so you don't have to keep asking them for it. I mean, it's all the seatbelts is pretty much universal on every airline, right?
Well, I mean, try to travel light. I don't want to carry a seatbelt extension with me.
That's pretty light. I mean, you can just put it around as a belt.
Right. I just walk in with one already.
Go through TSA. This is just a seatbelt extension because they won't give it to you on the plane.
This can't be used as a weapon. By the way, this is as I twirl it around. It's funny you say that. I have one, but I don't take it with me when I travel.
See, I reminded you. You probably forgot you had it. You're like, you know what? I do have one.
Well, I don't want to carry it with me.
Yeah. No, but it's funny because I just came from a trip and this is Delta Airline and there was just like 2 seats in every aisle and I was like you. I was like, oh God, please don't sit next to me. But it was small. We're small people, so the ones who ends up sitting next to me are like smaller than me. But it's like I can't imagine if I'm sitting there, then here I see you coming towards me, and you're like, excuse me, I have the window seat. I'm like, oh man. Please don't use the bathroom. Yeah. Please don't get up to use the bathroom.
No. I don't. I park it and I'm there for the duration, but I prefer the aisle because a lot of people don't know the aisle armrest comes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then it gives me that extra space into the aisle. And the flight attendants are usually nice about me being halfway out into the aisle.
Yeah. Just as long as you don't mess up the food cart or the drink carts, because we get thirsty, right? We get hungry.
It hurts when it hits your elbow, I tell you that much.
James, man, thank you again for jumping on. Thank you for being on here with us. Plug your show. I know you have a show coming up in Hawaii, and unfortunately, I'm not sure if there's anybody here watching from Hawaii, and I'm pretty sure we all want to be in Hawaii by the end of the week. But I know you got a show coming up. Go ahead and plug your stuff.
Yeah, so I'm performing this weekend at Stand Up Honolulu, which is Hawaii's only comedy club, and they opened about 3 months ago.
Okay.
So I'm performing. It's a showcase, so I'm not the headliner. It's me and 2 other comics who are really funny people. I'm performing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Next week, I am performing at the Blue Note, Hawaii, in another showcase. That's with Comedy U. So I do perform regularly. It's just all over the place. I'm trying to put together a headlining performance in October, but I'm waiting to find out if the date is available. So I don't have that out yet. And then I will make it out to San Francisco. There's a lot of places in the mainland that I want to go and perform, but it might be in 2023. I'm opening for Tumua Tuine November 12th and November 13th. He still has tickets. Out for November 13th. So if you haven't already, get your tickets for November 13th at the Blaisdell Arena.
Big arena. Again, if you guys are watching, you can follow James right here. This is his website, comedian James Money. I had to ask him, how do you say your last name? Because I didn't want to be that guy. I'm like, I looked at it. Is it Maine? Is it Money? It's like, it's Money. So
I figured it out. And the problem is not the last name. The problem is the first name. Because if my first name was like
Manu,
then you would say Mane. But then because it says James, you're like, oh, it's got to be Maine.
Yeah, it has to be Maine, right? James Maine. Yeah. And then James, you also have a podcast, James Mane Podcast. You can go ahead and plug that as well. And then if you want to follow him, again, his Instagram page is comedian James Mane, and then his Facebook page is James Mane as well. I appreciate you coming on. I love hearing stories. And again, someone should be reaching out to you and say, hey, James, let's make your story into a movie. I mean, because this, to me, if this was a movie, even if it was like a Netflix special, right? Just like, you came from the islands, you played football, you moved to the mainland, you had this ambition. Everybody has an ambition to want to play in the NFL. That's their dream. And for you to get cut short because of an arm injury, and then here you are, stand-up comic, making your way to the top. You'll definitely be at the top one day. And I can go back to this and say, like, this is where I interviewed James, and now here he is doing, he's The Rock's little big cousin out there.
Well, the interaction with my daughter as a little one, that a lot of people, when I tell them stories about it, they're like, wow, it's so interesting because she wants to be a princess, but I'm a jock. I don't know. Yeah. And it's funny because trying to raise a little girl who's a lot like her mother, that we didn't get along and that's why we broke up. It's basically I'm being punished raising my ex-girlfriend as a little girl, because like a lot of little things that she would say, put the toilet seat down, you drive too fast, or can you wipe the sink after you brush your teeth, all those things. I'm like, man, this is just like her mom. Do I hate her or what?
Patrice, again, thank you for the comment. Best of luck with your career, James. Again, this has been cool. Again, follow him on his social media. He has a lot of funny stuff. You did the one today that I saw on Instagram where they said, oh, the movers are here, and you just took the stool down. I was like, and that you were towering over that guy. That's how I can tell how tall you are. I'm like, God, either that guy's really short or you're really tall. And you just told me you're 6'7". So, and you mentioned, I'm gonna go back to what you said about San Francisco and the whole crime thing going on here. Yes, there's a lot of crime that's on social media going on here in San Francisco. It's a lot of break-ins, a lot of strong arm robberies that goes on. But James, if you ever come here, you don't ever have to worry about that, because they're just gonna look at you and look right past you, because here in San Francisco, we don't mess with the Polynesians. We don't. You could be Tongan, you could be Fijian, you could be Samoan, you could be, everything. We don't mess with you. Even, we just don't. We don't. We respect you guys. We respect you guys.
Our family is our gang. That's why.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because I used to hang out with a group here in San Francisco, and I didn't know they were like the Polynesian gangsters out here. I only hung out with them because they were cool guys. They were like cool people to hang out with. You talk story with them. They tell you stories about their ancestors. And then somebody said to me like, hey, you're hanging out with this group. Don't you know who they are? I'm like, no, I just know at 6 o'clock, we're going to go over their house and we're going to have a big meal. That's all I know. I didn't know who these guys were. So it's one of those.
I'm the same as you. I just came to eat. I don't care what they do after hours.
It's like, all right, I'll hang out with you for the first couple hours, but at 6 o'clock, we're heading back to your house. Let's give James another round of applause for being on the show. James, thank you again for jumping on. We will definitely keep in touch and keep talking back, and I'm going to come out there in Hawaii. Got a lot of friends out there. Definitely got a lot of friends out there that I need to visit soon. But thank you for jumping on the show, and best of luck to you. And like I tell everybody else, you're always welcome to jump back on the show anytime you want. You want to plug anything, you want to say, hey, I have a movie, it's going to come out, I want you guys to watch it. Anytime you want to jump on any ideas, feel free to just reach out to me, and you're always welcome. You're definitely part of the Daily Podcast now.
Thank you for having me.
All right, James. Thank you, guys. All right, guys. That was James Mane here with us. Thank you, James. Thank you again. You guys can follow him on his social media account. Definitely follow him. Definitely watch his YouTubes that he has. Definitely a funny guy. Definitely worth your 2 minutes watching him. And his jokes, we all can relate to his jokes. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for jumping on. I'm going to go ahead and do what I normally do when I leave my podcast, when I do all this stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. The podcast has ended, guys. Go in peace. Again, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for jumping on. You guys want to grab some of these shirts for you guys who are still watching. Everybody but Patrice. Patrice has already bought everything on here. You can follow me, again, the Daily Vlogs podcast right here. You can follow and buy my items right here, the Daily Vlogs podcast.myspreadshop.com. And again, follow me if you haven't. Shame on you if you haven't. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Those are my handles right there as well. And again, thank you for James Mane coming on. Mane coming on. Yeah, say the name right. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. Podcast vlog is ended, guys. Go in peace.